So my topic, even though I might not exactly be the best at it, is how to get wrinkles out of your clothes. I think it's something that's important for everybody to know. If you have a shirt, especially if you're dressing, if you're a guy and you're dressing in business attire, you often wear dress shirts pretty much every day. And so you want to make sure that they're not all wrinkly. Um, and same thing if you're a female, you might have wrinkles in a dress or in in a shirt, in pantsuits, whatever the case may be. So that's going to be my topic. I'm going to show you again how to make sure to format your paper correctly. First, I'm going to put expository essay up there so I can find it inside of my drive if I need to. The next thing, as we did last time, I'm going to change the font to Times New Roman and size 12. Then I'm going to make sure everything is double spaced. If we remember correctly, first thing is student's name on the first line. Spell teacher correctly. Then teacher's name, then class, then date. And then on our very next line, we would put our title. And since I already know my topic, I'm going to go ahead and put the title of how to get wrinkles out of clothes. And then on the very next line would be the start of your paper. Now the next thing we want to do is to insert our page number. Remember, we need to have a page number on the first page since there's no title page. So we go to insert page number and we put our last name before the page number. Highlight these, make sure they're in the same font as the others. And then, to make sure that our works cited always is on its own page, we would want to drop down to the next line, and we want to go to Insert Page Break. And as long as you always type up here and just continue it going down, there should always be the works cited on its own page. The works cited should just have its own page. Even if you only have one line up here of page 4 or page 3, page 5 should be the works cited, or whatever the next page is. So here we will title it Works Cited in the middle. No need to underline it, bold it, anything like that. And then we'll start it on the very next line. Now, a couple of principles to note about works cited. First, your citations will always be in alphabetical order by the first word of the citation. Sometimes the first word comes from the title of the article. Sometimes, if there is an author, it will be the last name of the author. And so a lot of times it'll just be last names of authors all the way down. Sometimes it's the publisher. So whatever that first word is of the title, or the first word of the citation, that's what it'll be in alphabetical order by. Because whatever is that first word or the title, that's how you would cite it in the actual paper itself. So that's the first thing to remember. And the second thing to remember is the reason we do this in the first place is to make sure we don't just take people's ideas and not give them credit. It also makes you a more reliable source because you are showing whoever reads your work that, hey, I know what I'm talking about because I use these other sources to come up with my work. And as long as your sources are reliable, then you are then reliable as well. So a couple things to remember when you're doing works cited. It's almost like providing an address. If your reader wants to go check your sources or find out more information, they can go and check those sources and know how to look for it. So we're going to use EasyBib. How many of you have used EasyBib before? Yeah. Good. So it's pretty easy to use. Here I have my first article, and notice I've already started thinking about how I want or what I want to be in my paper, because you want to be kind of specific when you go about Googling sources. So I know that I probably want to talk about ironing for sure, but then I also want to talk about maybe some ways to get wrinkles out if an iron is not available or if you're in a crunch for time, since ironing can take more time. So here I have this article, 8 ways to de-wrinkle your clothing without an iron. Now what I do is I copy this, Command C, and in EasyBib, Command V, and I click Cite It. It reminds me, hey, make sure you're taking this from a credible source. I'll go ahead and click Cite this. Now, one thing you have to be real careful with, and they're already warning me, they're like, hey, we didn't find a publisher or find out when it was published. So we're going to need your help. So EasyBib will kind of alert you with these red markings up there. First, it tells us that the title may be too long. 8 ways to dewrinkle your clothing without an iron. You know, that's its title. We're going to leave it. I always like to double check the author because sometimes EasyBib can get that wrong. Lauren Diamond. So it's from Reader's Digest, publisher, sponsor. We will put that in again, Reader's Digest. And a lot of times you can find that publisher or sponsor down at the very bottom of the website. And really, you'll see down here that it's actually Trusted Media Brands, Inc. So I'm going to go back here and put in Trusted Media Brands, Inc. Has our URL there, and then we need to find out if we can see what date it was published. You think it's at the bottom? Sometimes it's at the top, sometimes the bottom. Thank you. I don't actually see it. And that's okay. If there's not a date given for when it was electronically published, then you don't put it. You could look at the comments to see if a roundabout, but that's still not exact. So I'm just going to leave a no electronically published date. I'm going to click Create Citation. And here's what our citation would look like. Now notice it kind of has the reverse of a paragraph where the first line is all the way to the left and every line after is indented. Now the nice thing about EasyBib is it will start to create your citations down here and it will automatically put them into alphabetical order. So my next source is this YouTube video, How to Iron Clothes Properly. So I'll go back over here, and this time, since it's a YouTube video, instead of website, I'm going to click Video Film. But if you have some other source, look at how EasyBib has 59 other options where you can fill in the boxes and it will create the citation for you. If it's a lecture speech, if it's a letter, if it's a live performance, I think interview is probably, yep, interviews on here. That's probably not our source, but I have had people before ask or tell me, hey, my uncle is a mechanic. Can I interview him and use that as one of my sources? Yeah, absolutely you could. And that's how you would cite your source then, is you would put it as an interview. So I'm going to click Video Film. Again, copy the URL up there. Click Cite. Couldn't find it. That's okay. So we're just going to click there. And notice it has the options of if it was published directly online or published as a film, then posted online. I'm going to assume this was published directly online. Film title, How to Iron Clothes Properly. And it is interesting because the title does have a question mark. And I find that odd, but I'm going to include it since it's there. Now, contributors. This one's kind of tough with videos because a lot of times you'll have like the publisher, this Max Mayo Mag down here. This says a guide by T.M. Lewin on ironing your shirts like a pro, featuring creative director John Frankham. So there we do get some names. And that can make it a little bit complicated, but we do need to include them. So we are going to put, it says creative director. Is he, would we say he's the performer? I'm going to say he's the performer. Or should we do director since it says creative director? That doesn't mean he directed the film though. We're going to say performer. John Franco. Well, this is the guide is by T.M. Lewin.
It says he's a
So he would be the writer. Well, it says he's the creative director, but I don't think that means he directed this. I think he's the creative director of Max Mayo Mag. So, since the guide itself, we're going to consider that the writer, T.M. Lewin. This comes from YouTube. The publisher was Max Mayo Mag. The URL, which we used earlier. Actually, I think I'm going to use a shorter URL, which you can get by clicking the share. So I'm going to use that URL. And then when was it published? It was published March 7th, 2014. So the 7th of March, 2014. So we put all our information in, click Create Citation. And here, since it's by T.M. Lewin, which is exactly what it said, How to Iron Clothes Properly, italicized, performed by John Francombe, seems correct, on YouTube by Max Mayo Mag. That's the date it was published. Here's how to get there. Looks fantastic. So there it is down here. Notice Lewin is after Diamond, so it is the second in line. So we just have one more. Oh, my Easy Bibs got a thing going on there. All right. My last article here, how to properly iron shirts, pants, and skirts. And notice they used our same video, but it actually has an article here that has some tips. So let's say I wanted to use this. I copy the URL, go back over here to website, paste it, click Cite It. Looks like it has most of our information there. A lot of check marks, but we will still want to double check. Matthew Rogers. How to properly iron shirts, pants, and skirts. That's correct. Sometimes it adds weird things to the title, but there it did it correctly. Website title Lifehacker, publisher lifehacker.com. Published on the 14th of June 2011. 14th of June 2011. So that all looks good. I think I can create citation. And Rogers goes at the bottom as far as alphabetical order. So now what do I do with this? Export it. It does say you can save to Google Docs. That makes me nervous. I don't actually know what that does. So I'm going to click copy and paste. And what happens when you do that is it actually puts it into something that you can copy and paste like this. And they used to have one where up here you could copy and paste that. But I'm just going to use this right here. And we're going to go back to our works cited. And we paste it. It's all a little bit too indented. So we're going to see if we can highlight all this, pull it back to the zeros. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. And there, our works cited is done. We're ready to use our sources or use those sources when we actually write our paper up here. Again, I looked for sources, or I had already started thinking about what the different paragraphs would be about, what their topics would be about when I was thinking of my sources. So like other things other than an iron, how to iron properly, and then maybe some of the tips, maybe certain tips that we find within here. So maybe talking about the right heat, other tips. Here's also getting wrinkles out without using an iron. So I could end up using all three of these sources when I write my essay. It's on its own page. Looks like this.